The newborn xenomorph bursts out, thrashing like a wild animal. But when Wendy echoes its cry, a language she doesn't even understand, that's the moment everything changes. What no one saw coming was Wendy calming the chestburster with a smile on her face. She did it like a wild animal settling under a handler's touch, almost as if it recognizes her as its mother. That image alone, where a creature we've only ever known as a perfect killer, lowering itself in front of her, like it already knows she's something more than human. A lot of people might find it fascinating. I know I did, but others might say it's breaking the rules. Either way, if you watch it, there's no way you're walking out of it neutral. Up until now, chestbursters are known to be full of chaos. They scream, they slash, and then they disappear into the shadows. But here, it didn't run. It was frantic at first, and rightfully so. I mean, it was born in the most unnatural way possible, inside a human lung, and then forced out through glass into a lab that's nothing like its home, so of course it thrashed. But then when it faced Wendy, it just calmed down. Some might think that was just survival instinct, a newborn latching onto the first living thing it sees, especially one echoing its language, but I think it's more about recognition. And this is why it's the most divisive twist of the season so far. Because if a xenomorph can show submission, it means Wendy isn't just another experiment on Neverland. She's something the franchise has never given us before, which is a possible bridge between humans, machines, and the deadliest species in the galaxy. It was the perfect climax for the episode, but more than that, it was a line being crossed.
Why Wendy?
If you really think about it, especially by every rule we thought we understood, this bond shouldn't exist. Xenomorphs adapt to biology, and that means they hunt by scent, heat, and by instinct. Wendy is a hybrid with a synthetic body, so she has no pheromones, flesh, or anything that should register to them, and yet she's the one the chestbursters gravitate to. But the thing is, the show has been planting this for weeks. Her hearing isn't just sharp, it goes way past human range, which is up to 75,000 hertz. That's higher than even dogs or bats. So when the xenomorphs make sounds no one else can hear, Wendy feels it like a spike in her head. She's not imagining it, she's just tuned into their frequency. And then she does something no hybrid has done before. She doesn't just listen, she mimics as well. But Wendy doesn't just stumble into this. Boy pushes her to try. He tells her to think of her voice not as a voice, but as a speaker, like she's just playing back music that's already in her mainframe. And sure enough, a few moments later she does it. The room hears what only the xenomorphs usually hear. That strange, impossible sound coming out of her. She hums their rhythm back, like a child repeating a language for the first time. And that's when the connection really locks in. So what does that make her? Is she still Marcy, the little girl her brother remembers? Is she Wendy, the prototype synthetic Prodigy wanted? Or is she becoming something else? Something that doesn't fit cleanly into human or a machine? That's exactly the pressure Prodigy puts on Joe in his conversation with Atom. They don't really care if the Marcy Joe knows is still Wendy. They just want him to confirm it, to give them a testimonial they can package as proof that their $1 trillion experiment worked. But the moment he pushes back, Atom reminds him of the trap. If Joe quits, or even refuses to play along, he won't set his eyes on Wendy again. To them, she isn't his sister, she's just Prodigy's property. And that sounds very cruel. Because Joe is being blackmailed with him getting to spend time with Wendy, and as a result, he's being forced to validate her humanity while she's treated like a product. But we also know the reverse is true. Joe's presence on Neverland is being used to keep Wendy in line as well. Boy Cavalier already told her he can stay, but only as long as Joe isn't a distraction and she cooperates. So this is literally a mirror. Joe is leverage against Wendy, and Wendy is leverage against Joe. Both of them are trapped and reduced to bargaining chips in Prodigy's game. Family ties, and alien bonds. What makes this even stranger is where the baby xenomorph came from. It burst out of Joe's lung. That means this isn't just another lab specimen. For Wendy, it's almost like a sibling. And I know that might sound like a stretch, but I think that's where the tug of war begins. Joe is the only anchor she has left to her humanity. He's the one person who still sees her as Marcy, his little sister. But now, standing across from her, is another bond pulling just as hard, an alien creature that, in a twisted way, shares the same bloodline. You can already feel the tension. Joe grounds her in love, family, and the life she lost. Prodigy pulls at her as property, something to own and control, and now the xenomorphs are pulling too, not with orders or science, but with recognition and with something primal. So the danger isn't just that she's connected to them, it's that Wendy might start to see herself in them. She's already speaking their language without even knowing what it means. And it's only a matter of time before she understands it. And this bond could become something far more powerful and far more dangerous. And it'll be very interesting to see how this plays out in the subsequent episodes.
Prodigy think it's in control.
To Boy Cavalier, Wendy is just another product, a very expensive product, and Prodigy makes sure we don't forget it. They remind us every chance they get that she's $1 trillion prototype, a battery he can run into the ground. Boy even brags that she has a lithium-ion battery that could power a small city, so when Joe suggests she needs rest, Boy dismisses it. Even when she collapses from the strain, he doesn't see pain, he sees power. That's the difference. To him, she's an asset. But what makes this moment dangerous is that Wendy isn't staying in the box Prodigy built for her. She's evolving beyond their control. Even if Prodigy doesn't want to admit it, that moment with the newborn Xenomorph proves the very thing they're both terrified of and secretly chasing. Wendy is becoming more than the role they built her for. Everyone sees it, even Kirsch. He was the one watching when it happened. And true to his nature, he didn't step in or say anything. He just let it play out. That's what he always does. Observe, hold back, and wait for the fallout. That's if there's even one to begin with. It's the same way he's handling what's happening with Morrow and Slightly, but that's a different story for another video. But what matters here is that every time Prodigy thinks it's pulling the strings, Wendy pushes past what they expected. That moment with the chestburster wasn't about their experiment succeeding. It was about Wendy stepping outside her design. She's no longer just their property, she's evolving on her own terms. What it means going forward. With one bow, Wendy crossed into uncharted territory. She's now tied to 3 worlds at once: her brother and humanity, the synthetic body Prodigy built, and the alien species no one can truly control or explain. That makes her the most unpredictable figure on Neverland. She isn't just Prodigy's weapon or Joe's sister or a scared kid anymore. She's something else entirely. The Xenomorphs chose her right from the beginning, and that choice can't be undone. So the question isn't if Wendy is changing, it's what she's changing into. Is she a bridge between species, a weapon no one can leash, or the first child of a future we don't recognize yet? Either way, this moment makes me excited because it feels like a glimpse of what's coming next. And whether that turns out good or bad, I can't wait to see it.